Hey everyone, I am Suveksha.
And I am Bikin. Welcome to the fourth episode of AccountabiliTEA podcast. Today we have the amazing, the outstanding, the enigmatic Maggie Doyne with us. Welcome to the podcast, Maggie.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
We all know the story. We all have read it. We have all heard it. Maggie visited Nepal in 2005 when she was only 18 years old. While visiting the Western Hills in Nepal, she met a child, Hima, who was struggling to gain proper education. She wanted to do something about it. An effort that started with wanting to help a single child gain education, now, over the years, have evolved into BlinkNow Foundation. के छ Maggie, हाल खबर?
ठिकै छ.
Wow, that was perfect. And how are you doing these days?
I'm great. I'm actually calling in from the US. So because of all of this COVID mess, I've been here for longer than I ever have been. So it's been interesting. Definitely had reverse culture shock coming back after being in Nepal.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
You know, I've lived in Nepal since I was 19. I'm 34 now.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things I had to learn
Yeah.
over here. And not that I haven't been back and forth, but this is definitely the longest time. And it's been a weird time with the pandemic and everything happening. But yeah, we're all doing great. And I'm great.
Yeah, great. Awesome. 15 years. Wow, Apple wasn't even that big when you were in Nepal.
I know. It was the time before internet. And, you know, I'm now that mom that's like, oh, when I went to Nepal, there weren't even phones. There wasn't internet. There wasn't TikTok. Now I see the kids on TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yep. Okay, so this is something that I always wanted to know. So we'll be starting from the very beginning. I know it's been over 15 years now, but the first time that you saw Hima, what burned that spark within you that made you want to help this child?
Yeah, I mean, look, there was nothing big or it was really simple. I saw Hima, we locked eyes, and I thought, we're the exact same. You know, everything about us is the same. We're both young girls. She had this big, bright smile. Her eyes practically sparkled. And the only difference was the circumstances with which we were born and the opportunities we'd been given. And I kind of just saw a reflection of me before I became me. And yeah, it was just this thing of like, oh, well, I see that she's obviously in struggle and maybe something can help. So I wasn't very sophisticated about it. It was like, oh, you know, I had been taking in the statistics. I'd seen a lot of stories. I'd seen the impact of poverty in Karnali region. I'd kind of seen the issue from every angle, having lived in India across the border as well, and seen the plight of Nepali refugees, Nepali migrants. So I was putting all of those pieces together and then seeing a 6-year-old on a riverbank breaking rocks, collecting garbage. And I was just like, oh, she could be someone. And just a little bit of investment and chance and here we are today. I ended up staying, and that became the initial story of establishing Copula and then BlinkNow.
Yep. Just a single follow-up. It's still a pretty big thing to stop everything that you were doing, all of your plans, and then do everything for the single person and someone else. It's something that's so beautiful, so pure. So was it difficult to do that in that moment?
Well, yeah, so Hima, she went to school. We got her the backpack and the uniform, and, you know, she had a single mom. So there were just a few barriers that were preventing her from getting that education. And at the time, they seemed really simple barriers, right? It was just like, okay, she needs a backpack, she needs books, she needs this admission fee paid. She lived right up the street from the school. I could see that access wasn't an issue. But then she just lit up. Like, she'd put on that backpack, she'd march into kindergarten, stand in assembly. You know, she was learning to read and write. And it kind of became this like fascination of, well, if that could happen to Hima, what could happen to this girl and that girl? And along that riverbed, there was a whole community breaking rocks. So I kind of started with this vision of like, we can't change all of Nepal. We can't change Karnali. These issues are really complicated, but let's start on the riverbed. And it felt like a really good use of a time. Like, I was fascinated with the issue of girls' empowerment and education. And, you know, I believed in Nepal. I believed in what this community could be. And at that point, we had a little bit of a movement going. So it wasn't like this big decision of like, oh, I'm not going back to college or whatever. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna spend a little more time and a little more time and a little more time, and here I am. And I
still spending a little more time.
But I love that it started out with this like really simple, pure, like what would happen if Hima went to school, and then what would happen if this riverbed didn't have kids breaking rocks, and then what would happen if we did this, and what would happen if we did that, and it grew from the seed, which is why we call Copula Valley Copula.
Yeah,
that is so awesome. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Thanks.
So yeah, I mean, you first started the Copula Children Home, right? And whenever we talk about like a safe space for children in Nepal, we usually talk about orphanage. But I believe that you always refrain from calling it an orphanage, and you rather would like to, you know, call it a home for the children. So, like, why do you refrain from calling it an orphanage and like prefer to call it a home? Could you elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, the issues of orphanages are so complex, and in fact, it's not a wonderful model. Children's home and orphanages, we know, are not the best model for children. Like, we want children within their communities, within their villages, within their families. However, in a country and a region and a culture without social services and interventions for high-risk, vulnerable children who have lost their immediate families, as a safe, well-monitored home environment has been really critical for the most at-risk cases that we work with. It's not a one-fit solution for everyone. It's not always the right fit for everyone. Like Hima, for example, didn't have to be in the home. She has a mom and she has her brothers, and, you know, she was needing that income, but there are other circumstances where that intervention has to be made, say 2% of the time. So what we realized, my co-founder and I, in creating the home, is that there were cases like Hima and the rock-breaking children, the child porters, that needed the extra infrastructure and support of schooling and education. But there was also another population of kids who had lost even more. And it's like a hierarchy of needs, right? You can't reach for education until you have home, until you have safety, until you have love, family, nutrition. And so at that point, we kind of realized we needed a home base and a center. So that became the essence of the home. I think we called it a home because we wanted an integrated approach. We wanted it to feel like a home. We never wanted to say, we're your family. Like the kid, a lot of the kids, you know, they have root family, they have villages. We wanted this immersive approach where, you know, they had everything they needed to be successful, but also they felt connected to where they came from. So the home became what we called it, and it's been wonderful. It does not take the place of social services. I still advocate for Nepal needing strong social services and interventions for children. And it works in the cases that we've been able to take in, but it's not a bulletproof one size fits all. Just like adoption isn't, just like, you know, keeping a kid in a family is sadly not always an option. These issues are so complicated, but the home's been wonderful, and And I think to date, we've had about 58 children come through the home. So
Wow.
Yeah.
they're all off in the world and going to college and university and getting their first jobs. And it's been a really wonderful and successful model.
They grow so fast, right?
I know. It's insane.
Yeah. So also like adding to what you're saying, like whenever we talk about shelter homes or we talk about orphanage, we just think that, okay, their basic needs are being catered, being taken care of. But then there is also another side to it, like the emotional support that they, as a child, should gain, or the love and affection, the family, the bonding that they should have. I think that is lacking other places. But then when we see yours, like in videos, we see the Copula Valley School, also Copula Children's Home, and the affection, the bonding that they share with you and with everybody. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's been awesome. The caregivers and the aunties and uncles, we're a big parenting team. It's a commune. It's just this
an
beautiful
amazing group of people just coming together and doing amazing things.
yeah, it's been wonderful.
Yeah, and home just has a nice ring to it. I mean, rather than shelter homes or orphanages, home just has a much bigger meaning, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, children can be really at risk in orphanages and in these facilities. They can be exploited. They can be trafficked. So I'm on the same page that we need to monitor and do this work really properly. And I think our home's been really held to a certain standard. And I love that. I love that people look to us as, the golden, like, okay, that if you're going to do it, that's the way.
Sudeksha also mentioned Copula Valley School. So let's talk about that. That is an amazing work that you're doing. So many students, like almost 500 students. You're teaching each and every one of them for free. I mean, when I grew up, I had to pay so much money to study in such a stupid schools or colleges, but you are doing such an amazing work.
You're not supposed to say that.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So can you share a little bit about what it's like working in a school with kids and teachers? Such a beautiful school.
I mean, we worked within the community education model for a long time, and we started to see some really critical issues. Number one, the use of rote-based learning and the concept that kids put on these fancy uniforms and just memorize things out of the textbook. So there was also a lot of corporal punishment. When you enroll a child into these Western rote-based learning academic institutions, there's a lot of cultural knowledge, familial knowledge, ancestral knowledge that is lost. And on top of that, school wasn't catering to every kind of learner, especially the kids who, didn't have home support, didn't have educated parents. So we started to just redream and rethink up Copula Valley School. At that point, we were enrolling the kids from the riverbed in these really high-risk cases, and we kept it really small initially. We built the school out of bamboo and tin. We had no money.
Oh, wow.
But we really focused on culture, on fun, on bringing joy in, on making school. People used to say, like, oh, the kids at Copula Valley just play all the time. Can you hear, like, all the neighbors saying that? They're just outside playing. We integrated a lot of nature. We integrated a lot of critical thinking, and kind of just redreamed a model for progressive education within Nepal that would work for the population of kids that we were working with. We wanted school to be a safe place and a loving space. So we dreamed it up. The admissions process is incredibly rigorous. You can really only get a spot at the school if the admissions committee made up of, amazing qualified people beyond my capabilities decides that, this child, because of circumstances, really needs that whole service approach. So we generally admit kids who have lost immediate family members, mother and father, or kids who have other extenuating circumstances. And that's how, we've been at it for, almost, the school started about 10 years ago, and we've now graduated 166 kids.
Oh my God, 166 kids.
Yeah, and they're so amazing. They are so amazing. We've got a professional soccer player. We've got kids in medical school. We've got accountants. We were able to hire some of our kids back. We've got teachers, engineers, restaurant chefs, hospitality. I mean, they are just making waves across the country, and they love Nepal. I think another important thing about our model in the school is that, we never wanted our kids to grow up with the narrative of like, Nepal's a poor country. Nepal's a least developed country. Like the narrative that children within Nepal are like kind of groomed to believe. Yeah. Instead, we really filled them with like, there's so much opportunity here. You're amazing. You can do anything. You can be anything. Just work hard, believe in yourself. So we took like a kid that was, say, banging at the bus station and had them put on that uniform and feel like they were something and that they were going to be something. And I think that did a lot in their psychosocial kind of transformation, that Nepal is amazing. How lucky are we to be here? This is beautiful. And I think, like, honestly, that's been one of the secret sauce, like the love and just belief in country, belief in self. Not this like, oh, Nepal's so poor, I'm not going to be anything. We've really tried to flip that narrative on the head.
I'm actually getting goosebumps listening to you.
But it's all true. Like I want to raise my kids in Nepal. There's incredible things about this culture, and all we hear is the bad and the victim, all of the bad things. When really bad things are happening everywhere. Yes, Nepal has really hard challenges to overcome and barriers, but it is possible. It's possible. And it has all the things that it needs.
Yeah, also talking about, like you said, it's possible. And the Copula Valley Green School, the concept, I think that is something that people thought would be impossible, How can infrastructure or institution be so environmentally conscious and actually implement all of those things, all of the like environmentally friendly practices? But you actually managed to do that. So congratulations and kudos to you on that. So could you also tell about the process, why you decided to make the school environmentally friendly, and were there any challenges, who helped you throughout the process? So what was the process like?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a single thing that you're focusing. Like, it's not just about the kids, it's about the environment as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I mean, sustainability is huge. We started out in that little bamboo school. We built out of bamboo because it's sustainable, because it's, you can take it apart like Legos. And then we started to just live in the times that Nepal was in from 2010 to 2020. So earthquake, floods, landslide. It is impossible in this time that we are in to ignore environmental factors and just the circumstances. So there's nothing like turning on water 18 hours a day and nothing comes out of the tap. It's, a brown trickle of water at 2 a.m. that you're getting up and filling your couple of buckets to survive the day. And there's nothing like experiencing load shedding while trying to run a school and make photocopies and, teach a class and on a projector or computer. So you experience those things. Do you remember when we had no gas or petrol to cook with? I forget what year it was.
Earthquake. It was 2016.
2015.
Try to run a school lunch program when you can't cook over gas bottles and you're sending your kids out to the forest to collect wood and pine cones. So it wasn't like, sustainability is often this like buzzword that's cool to talk about. And we're going to do this cool school. This was truly out of necessity. Yeah. Like, as we started to really dream up what the next iteration of the school would be, we started to think about a green school. This led me to an incredible architect. His name's Prabal Thapa. And I had seen him in a magazine. And I said, if I ever work with an architect, it's going to be him. It's Prabal Thapa. And I had his name, and I eventually met him. And I was like, I want to do this thing called a green school. And this was before the earthquake, and he introduced us to the concept of rammed earth. And from rammed earth, we started to talk about rainwater harvest. And from rainwater harvest, we started to talk about solar cooking and solar energy and, coconut turf. We just kind of dreamed up what the greenest school in the world would look like and how to do that in a rural Nepali context. Was it possible? Can we do it low cost? Can we do it efficiently? And that brought on this incredible team of Nepali architects, engineers, designers, and the sketch of a dream. It took us 6 years to build that school.
Wow, yeah.
And you have to come. It's beautiful. It is the most beautiful place on earth.
I was just going to add, it just looks so beautiful. I just looked at the most recent picture. It looks so clean. It's so green. It looks so beautiful. We are definitely visiting there.
It's just Nepal, right? We just took a traditional Nepali, Nepal is known for mud houses. For building from the earth and the rock. And so we did that, and we built in gardens, we built in trees, and we just made it a Nepali school. There's a traditional Nepali footbridge. We'll have to show pictures to everyone. It's stunning, and it's a model, I think, for what every educational institution can be.
Yeah, that sounds so awesome. Amazing. So you mentioned a second home as well, right, for adolescent girls. Is that the same as Copula Women's Center, or is it a different one?
It's actually different. The Copula Valley Women's Center is our program targeted specifically towards mothers and women. And as you know, when you get into doing this work, you realize we have to include women in the equation. So what was happening is our students were going to school, but they were hitting barriers at home. For example, needing to sleep in menstrual huts, or, domestic violence in the home, drug and alcohol abuse in the home. I could tell you 1,000 just tragic stories of things that would happen outside of the gates of Copula Valley that we just couldn't control. And so we kind of just started to think about, again, that whole child. What does that whole child need to be successful? They need a loving, supported, empowered, financially stable home life. And the way to do that is obviously through women. So we kind of just experimentally started a women's empowerment training center. It was initially to serve the female caregivers, the mothers, the aunties in the community. And I think at the first informational meeting where we were seeing I wonder if anyone would even come, 300 women showed up.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
And we're okay, this is really something. And so I think this was about 6 or 7 years ago. And we started running a women's center, and it was just a safe place, like the school, that women could come. They could learn anything from what are their legal rights? How do they make documentation? How do you have a bank account, finance 101, confidence building, and, just how to have confidence, how to stand tall, how to build a network of support. And then we started to build in a vocational training skill, because you can say, oh, women need to learn, blah, blah, blah. They don't need to learn anything. They know how to have, they know proper nutrition. They know how to raise their children. They don't need to be told about but they didn't have the opportunity to go to school or to learn how to have a source of viable income. So we realized that in order for women to be free and empowered and safe, they need access to money. And we started training on different skills like sewing, weaving, beauty parlor training. We're looking at driving courses. So that we're running our eighth, ninth, 10th batch of women, and they're incredible. Wow. And we saw direct and instant impact and results. Rates of domestic violence going down, our kids being safer and more successful and having better home lives. So it's been an incredible program.
Yeah, that sounds so good.
Yeah, amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, you mentioned about the trainings that you're providing to the women's, and also in the Copula Valley School, You spoke how their nutrition were being taken care of, their health were being taken care of. But then after the pandemic, certainly the situation has changed. I believe that you're not being able to, physically run classes, and the students are having to study from their home. So how is that working? Like, how you are ensuring that all the students and all these women are properly getting trainings, and how are you ensuring that?
Yeah, honestly, it's been the hardest thing. Everywhere else in the world, people could pivot to like Zoom class and internet and like do what we're doing, which is so amazing. We can connect. But our kids didn't have access to tablets or at-home internet or even mobile devices. And so it was this really big moral dilemma of how do we continue education and how do we do this safely? We did a lot of research. First, our mantra was like, no lives lost. Like, how do we just keep everybody safe? How do we, make sure that our kids, a lot of them live with older grandparents as their sole caregivers. It was just horrifying. So what we did, like, once we figured out how to run food banks, keep, food going and getting out to families, our social workers did assessments, our teachers did home visits at a distance with masks. We started to realize that other schools in our position without access to internet, the ones who didn't completely shut down, were really focused on life skills training and reading. So we started to build these like sort of at-home distance learning packets. And when the kids came to pick up their food package, they'd get this little, envelope with all of their curriculum. So we had to pivot the curriculum into learning packets that the teachers could then collect, correct, and turn back to the kids. It wasn't perfect. But we were able to keep their education going and get them at-home gardening, building life skills challenges and learning lessons into what we could work with. We got the library rotating. We made sure that kids felt socially and emotionally supported. I think overall in Nepal, we know that 7 million more children have slipped into poverty because of this pandemic. We know that kids are just not going to school at all for 16 months now. And we can't ignore the fact that we're looking at a major backslide when it comes to hunger, poverty, child marriage. It's happening every single day. And even we have seen the impacts of that within our own community. So it hasn't been this like perfect solution. We've been scared. We feel like mental health is down amongst our students. They've been more at risk, but we were able to continue their education, which I'm really proud of. And that's because we have that incredible team of teachers and social workers and experts and educational leaders. A lot of folks, just don't have the resources to be able to do that, and we did. So we're really lucky. Yeah.
That sounds really good. So what does the future hold? So what should we look out for Blink now in the next 3-6 months and then in 5 to 6 years?
Gosh, I just want our school to reopen in person. I want to get through this pandemic. I want, Nepal to be fully vaccinated and safe and for the economy to bounce back. We know that this has hit migrant workers. We know that this has hit the tourism industry. And yeah, we're gonna have a lot of a big comeback period in the next 6 months, and we want to be a part of that. And then long term, our dream and our vision is just one child at a time. Just every child has an opportunity to be incredible in their own right and successful. And, we believe at Copula that Nepal's greatest natural resource is its children. And so you'll be seeing little Copula graduates all over Nepal, hopefully shaking things up, starting businesses, becoming doctors, hopefully getting into politics.
That sounds
Let's
amazing.
hope for the best.
Yeah.
Hopefully, doing amazing things, becoming farmers. They're studying hospitality. They're, Hima just started college at a university.
She's what, 22, 23 now, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's our goal. And then our vision for our programs and the model itself is just to share what we've learned, share the model, share why we need to be thinking about sustainability and environmentalism, share our curriculum, because I think there needs to be a lot of work in, like I said at the beginning, accessibility to education in Nepal is not the issue anymore. It's quality. It's going to be driving quality, keeping kids in school and seeing them all the way through into adulthood and making sure that they're launching into self-sufficiency. So being a part of the shift into quality education, and just continuing to collaborate and work with like-minded, amazing people across Nepal for this vision of a world where every child is safe and educated and loved. And as soon as we accomplish that, as soon as we can create a Nepal where every child is safe, educated, loved, and empowered, the country's going to change. I mean, we're seeing that with your generation,
Definitely,
with my generation. Like, you see these shifts happening and you're like, whoa, things are getting good. They're going to get better. And on days that I'm feeling a little hopeless, I like to go there. I'm like, it's going to be good. It's going to be okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be good.
Yeah,
definitely.
let's hope for the best.
I'll just stay positive, you guys. It's going to be good. I know it's hard.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, but I do think, 20 years ago, Nepal didn't have a generation of women who had gone to school because there was a huge gap. Women were really left out. Now we've got 90% of girls enrolled in primary school. There's going to be amazing waves of change because of that. We've got women entering politics. We've got women, and we've got just people that are empowered and educated and coming back to Nepal, having gone abroad, or we've got incredible schools popping up across the country. I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, I think the pandemic is also sort of, it is also an opportunity in a lot of ways because we can start from scratch in a lot of sectors that we did not initially worked on, or we can rethink about the things that we need to change about our society.
Yeah.
So I believe that even the government and all the stakeholders will see it as an opportunity. Let's hope for the best.
I hope so.
Of course. And we all know Maggie, you as the Maggie Doyne, the CNN hero, and all of the awards you received, all the honors. But besides all those things, the things that have come into limelight, I believe there are also some personal things or some professional achievements you've made, which were not out there, but then you're extremely proud of. So could you share with us some of those stories or some of your experiences that you're extremely proud of? Yeah.
Well, I think the beauty of my story is that I was so humbly accepted and welcomed as a daughter, as a sister. People always say, "Oh, is it hard to be a woman?" And I was like, "No." Everyone was like, "Well, we're going to protect you." There was a very, I think, there was a very I was welcomed, and I think we knew from a very, very early on that the failures in the development sector come from Nepali people themselves being left out of the equation when it comes to their own trajectory of change and what they want in their communities. And so beyond the headlines and the media attention that I got, I think it's really important to remember that there was a team of hardworking, intelligent Nepali people. And I think that it's been left out. And I'm just a privileged kid from New Jersey. I had everything. But the team that is around me, and we're 125 staff, all Nepali. They deserve the credit. They're the ones that grew up within Nepal, within the culture, and knew what it would take to change the community. And I'm just one little piece of that puzzle who was lucky enough to be welcomed, because people could have been like, you're not from here, just go back to where you came from. And they didn't. They were like, come on in, let's do this together. We'll learn Nepali together. We'll create this together. We'll create a dream together. So everything we are today is not because of me. It's because of the community that welcomed me. And I think that's Nepal for you. You guys know I'm writing a book.
Oh, wow.
I've been writing a book this past year during COVID and trying to tell that story of this place that I love so much. So that's...
Would love to read
I hope
it.
so. I hope.
When's it coming out?
So it's coming out. I haven't announced it yet, but it's coming out February 14th, which is Valentine's Day.
Oh.
And
Nice date.
And it'll...
So we're going to be leaking it then.
Sure. You totally. The title of the book is called Between the Mountain and the Sky, which is... and it's the story of Nepal and our community and our children and what we've been able to create together. Yeah.
That sounds so good, between the mountain and the sky.
Thank you.
This is so great. And this has been so great. I think we're nearing the end of the podcast. I just remembered reading something, and I opened up the BlinkNow website because I think I read it in your website, and it's true. I just wanted to read one line of your first story. It states, like, our journey starts on a dry riverbed in the foothills of the Himalayas, where one young woman decided to help one young girl, hoping to make one small difference. This is so beautiful, I think, because personally, I think that frequently in our lives, there's a moment when we feel we need to do something, like we think we can do something to help others, and more often than not, we just end up doing nothing about it. There are many reasons behind it, but one of the main reasons, I think, is that we feel it won't really have an impact. And you being a direct contradiction to that statement, do you want to say something to our viewers that can help them take that very first step?
Yeah. I mean, look, we've got it so hard. Everywhere we look, left, right, up, front, center, down, there's a problem. And it can turn us into it just turns you into a zombie and numbs you. There's so much fear. And I think in those moments of fear and hopelessness, just look to the face of a child and the smile and the potential and, or whatever it is for you. And yeah, one small act. I think staying hopeful, staying positive, believing that change is possible. And yeah, just one small act, one small step can change the world. That's where the name Blink Now comes from. In the blink of an eye, just do one little thing. And I guarantee you that you feel better after. It's trying to do something is better than, being paralyzed and crying into our pillows. It
definitely is.
It's like we're either gonna give up and get into fetal position and cry every day and just be like, we're totally screwed, or we have to try. So let's use this one life of ours and try to do everything we can. We have nothing to lose.
That is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think now we're at the end of the podcast today. So thank you so much, Maggie. It was so fun speaking to you and knowing about your journey, all of the works that you've been doing with Copula Children's Home and school, Big Sisters Home, and the Women's Center. Thank you so much, and we are really looking forward to welcome you back in Nepal, and hopefully to visit.
I'll be back.
And hopefully to visit the school and meet all of the children and everybody there. Thank you so much.
I can't wait. Good to meet you both. Congrats on all your work.
Yeah, I just want to remind our viewers to just support Blink Now. Just check out their website, their social media pages. They'll be in the description below. And thank you so much, Maggie.
Thank you.
As always, thanks for sticking with us till the end. If you have any feedback, leave them in the comment section below. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.